I thought that was the main difference of this type of diet is leaving out the vegetables and saying that they may be harmful. So I kind of looked into it a little bit. And I found there are a few substances in vegetables that the carnivore diet and proponents of the diet tend to say may be harmful to health. And that includes such substances such as lectins, phytates or phytic acid, oxalates or oxalic acid, glycoalkaloids, sulforaphane, and phytochemicals. I'm not sure if these are all the substances that they tend to say are harmful in vegetables, but these seem to be the main ones. I did a small amount of research into these and what exactly they are, and we can go through it. I thought that would be a good idea.
I agree. Let's do it.
So lectins. Lectins are found in most plants like potatoes, beans, tomatoes, eggplants, lentils, chickpeas, peanuts, chilies, bananas. So they're found in a lot. They occur in nearly all foods, but are highest in legumes and grains.
So it can be part of almost like a jelly factor, if I'm not mistaken. It can make things a little thick.
All right, so that makes sense. They're what they're called a type of carbohydrate binding protein. So I guess it's a protein that binds the carbohydrates and perhaps makes the substance thick. And so lectins also seem to be involved in the plant's innate defenses against insects and other herbivores that try to eat it and kill it, which I guess it makes sense since, and I think I heard someone else in the carnivore realm speak about this, and I'm willing to listen, is that plants really don't have much defense as far as keeping others and insects and predators from eating it. It's just a stationary living. So instead, it produces these types of chemicals that can deter insects and herbivores from eating it. And I guess a lectin is a type of chemical that can do that. And supposedly, they may be harmful to humans. They are resistant to your body's digestive enzymes and can pass through your stomach unchanged. The thing is, so they seem to be found more in raw vegetables, like raw kidney beans contain something called phytohemagglutinin, which is a toxic lectin. And actually, if you eat raw kidney beans, you can become poisoned and have severe abdominal pain, vomiting, diarrhea. However, when these beans are cooked, they seem to be completely safe.
Yeah. So I've heard of that as well. So consuming like raw beans or undercooked beans, but that's if they're the hard bean. If you get it from the can, it's fine because it's already cooked and processed. But like a hard bean, if you just pop it in undercooked or raw, you can definitely get sick. And it's probably the lectin, but cooking it, does do some chemical change to it, and then it is safe. And that is actually with a lot of food. You think about protein or like raw chicken. We don't go around eating raw chicken because of, foodborne illnesses. Your chance of getting salmonella dramatically increases. So when we cook it, kills bacteria. Now it's safe for us to eat.
Yeah. And it just seems, again, I feel like our bodies kind of know if something is safe and good to eat in the taste, in the way we feel after we consume it. And after we cook it, I mean, these beans taste delicious. We don't have issues. So it would make sense that we would cook this possible poison off. And now we're able to consume this vegetable. Whether or not, I think proponents of this diet would still say these lectins still remain in the food. And over time, they can cause damage. I don't know. But just kind of looking at things how they are. And supposedly, and I think you're always going to find studies of all different sides when it comes to, especially nutrition. So there's going to be pros and cons. Some studies I saw, they link lectins to diseases like Parkinson's and neurodegenerative effects. But again, these are just a few studies and you just don't know. It's hard.
Yeah, but on the flip side, that there's also brain protective properties of some of those foods as well. So it's, would have to examine like how much are they eating? Again, is it an undercooked product? Is it raw? Is it, so it's really hard to kind of sift through that information and see like, does that really cause that, or is it just kind of associated with it? People who have Parkinson's disease, like, were they consuming a lot of beans? We don't know,
Yeah, I mean, these associations are so difficult to make because there are so many factors,
right?
and that sometimes, you can put a lot of associations together for many different things, and there are so many benefits to vegetables. So that's the thing. Like, yes,
Yeah.
you have to look at also the other side as well. Another type of possible compound that the carnivore establishment says may be harmful are something called phytates or phytic acid. So what's great is I get to kind of learn more about this too as well. So I get to learn that these chemicals are in plants and learn more about them. So it's interesting on my end. But phytic acid is found in plant seeds. They supposedly, it's the main storage of phosphorus that's used in plant growth. And all edible seeds, grains, legumes, and nuts contain this phytate, and small amounts are also found in roots and tubers. So phytic acid, now this is where the carnivore diet and proponents of it say where phytic acid is bad, is that it prevents the absorption of certain vitamins and minerals into your body, prevents the absorption of zinc, iron, calcium, and other minerals. However, what I've read and come across is that this doesn't happen over your entire lifetime. It just happens if you eat seeds or something that contains a phytic acid. It may prevent the absorption of these nutrients in that single meal. Sometimes they're referred to as an anti-nutrient. Have you heard about anti-nutrients?
Not that term specifically, but I have heard of some nutrients blocking the absorption of others. But again, like, you're having to look at quantity here, does one single nut or seed block the absorption of like all the zinc and iron? Not likely, no. But now if I were to eat a solid, pound or so of seeds, which sounds uncomfortable, and it likely is, would that block some absorption? Yes. So kind of taking it in that perspective that while it could do it, you're not likely to get any sort of effect in any meal because you're not eating the quantity that's needed to block that kind of absorption.
Mm-hmm. So in moderation, like I think with anything, you tend to get benefits, but obviously if you consume too much of everything, there probably always is a negative net effect. And so, yeah, I could certainly see exactly what you're saying. And again,
oh, I'm sorry. You mean you have seeds, grains, legumes, nuts, and all amazing things that have, heart protective, brain protective properties, tons of vitamins and minerals, along with like proteins and, fats. So all things that would be essential for a healthy diet.
Yeah, there's so many benefits to everything you just said. And yes, maybe sometimes it's found that it may produce the absorption of certain minerals, but there are other nutrients that you'll be getting as well. And who knows if even this prevention of absorption of these minerals is a bad thing. Maybe it's something that has to happen in order for some chemical reaction to happen here, but I don't know. It's complex. But you're kind of just looking at one certain thing. We just don't know. You can reduce phytic acid in foods, though, if you soak them, if you sprout them through fermentation. So again, there are ways to get rid of these potential chemicals and prepare them in a way that we can eat them and then take in all the nutritional benefits.
Yep. I have heard of sprouting like lentils and legumes before eating them. It's process, and I'm not quite entirely sure, if there's any danger that comes along with that. I don't say danger, but if there's any negative effects that come along with sprouting, you do leave things in water. My first thought is, some sort of toxin accumulating, or is the sprout safe to consume in and of itself? We know that there are some populations that can't eat sprouted food, like, immunocompromised, pregnant women, young children. So, having to look on that spectrum as well. So like you said, this is very complicated. It's very complex and may not apply to everyone either.
Yeah. Things get so complex sometimes in the diet world. It's
crazy.
Yeah. We can talk more about that after we're done going through these chemicals. So oxalate or oxalic acid. Another one found in many plants, including the leafy greens, vegetables, fruits, cocoa, nuts, seeds. Oxalates bind to minerals and form compounds, and supposedly have been linked to increased risk of kidney stones and other health problems. As a doctor, we actually do learn that most of the kidney stones are actually made up of calcium oxalate. One of the other main concerns is that oxalate can bind to minerals in the gut and prevent body from absorbing them. So I think much like the previous phytates we were talking about, it's considered an anti-nutrient, supposedly. They may be, again, controversial research shows they may have been linked to other health problems like autism and unexplained vaginal pain or vulvodynia. But this support is weak. And again, I don't know, just things I've come across. However, to your side, as you always like to point out, a lot of foods that have these oxalates are also very healthy for you and contain a lot of other nutrients as well. Beet greens. Have you ever had the greens of the beets?
I have. Yeah, we use them all the time.
They're delicious. Rhubarb, spinach, beets, Swiss chard, another, I really enjoy that green as well. Cocoa powder, sweet potatoes. I eat a lot of sweet potatoes, put some cinnamon on it, some olive oil.
Yep. But yeah, no, again, all great things for your body and to make up a very healthy diet. So interesting that it's considered dangerous. But again, I would, consider the quantity. Are you eating 10 pounds of spinach at a time? No. That's likely some weird things happening.
Exactly. I mean, I think if anything, what I may take away from this and other people may take away is just the quantity and realizing that even something as healthy as vegetables, everything can be bad for you if not taking in the appropriate amount, if consuming too much of anything. Right. It's almost like a life law.
Yeah. And I do feel like, though, with like vegetables, it's going to be impossible for you to get that amount. You know what I'm saying? Like for a carrot to become toxic, like you just cannot consume that much, So, so far, I want to say that vegetables are safe. Safe.
Next one, glycoalkaloids. Another potentially toxic family of chemical compounds found in the nightshade family of plants. Potatoes, tomatoes, peppers. Do you know why they're called nightshades?
I want to believe it's something to do with the sun setting and they open and close appropriate, like with the sun, I think.
So glycoalkaloids can be toxic if consumed in high amounts. This is an interesting chemical I actually came across because I did find some of this information on a government website, the Canada government website, which I'll discuss shortly. However, when these foods are consumed in normal amounts, glycoalkaloids are unlikely to cause negative effects, potentially. Cooking, however, does not significantly reduce these glycoalkaloids. So that's what was interesting about these substances. So what I actually got from the Canada governmental website is they recommended when it comes to potatoes, because they can have potentially toxic levels of these glycoalkaloids. So in order to prevent this, focus on storing in a cool, dry, dark environment to minimize this glycoalkaloid formation. Cut away parts of the potato that's showing like this greening. So it seems to be where like potatoes usually the greening, and I think those little the eyes are like the sprouts that come out of it. You want to cut those away because that is what contains these chemicals. Similar to tomatoes, it recommends to stay away or eat in moderation green tomatoes and consume tomatoes when they're ripe, as they don't have as much glycoalkaloid. And don't consume the green parts of the tomato plant, the stems, the leaves. So I seem to pick up some almost more serious information when it came to this substance. Have you heard about this?
Yes. Now I have heard of the skin of the potato. If it's green, you do want to cut that away, because that is where the toxin is. And of course, the eyes. Or those little buds or sprouts. I didn't realize that's what that was. It's just something growing up. My grandma was always like, "You got to cut that part off." So now we really cut it off. And same thing with the tomato stems and leaves. That I've heard that is toxic. And I would have imagined by now, maybe through some sort of genetic modifying, growing or, selecting that would have been taken care of or remedied. But I'm still not going to go chomping down the tomato plant. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Interesting one.
Yeah.
Next, sulforaphane. This is a natural plant compound found in many cruciferous veggies like broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, and kale. Personally, I enjoy all of these vegetables a lot. Very disappointed to hear if I did want to go carnivore, I could no longer have these vegetables.
Yeah.
So there's almost like two extreme sides to this one. Unlike the other ones, I actually read there's a lot of research showing that sulforaphanes actually have health benefits to your body, such as heart health and digestion. However, on the other side, the carnivore proponents state that this chemical is actually very harmful to health due to its oxidative and free radical effects.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, you just don't hear of, vegetables having free radicals and, they're supposed to, help get rid of free radicals in your body.
Yeah, and supposedly, so the sulforaphane is activated when the plant's destroyed or broken, which I guess would make sense from a chemical plant perspective for defensive purposes if something came in. But again, I know when you cook these vegetables, cooking tends to neutralize a lot of these chemicals. I'm not exactly sure how much it does with sulforaphane, but broccoli is a lot different eating raw versus cooked. To me, I actually don't really enjoy maybe like raw vegetables. I think it's a personal preference, but I prefer broccoli's cooked. It's just through experience, it's a lot easier to eat. It tastes better.
I agree.
And those are almost signs to me like this is then something I'm safe to eat because I can consume it. I'm not having issues. Whereas maybe consuming it raw, the reason it's not appealing is because maybe there are some negative aspects to eating it raw.
Interesting. Yeah, that might be.
Okay. Yeah. Next, phytochemicals. Natural chemicals produced. So phytochemicals is another one. There's like you hear a very good side to phytochemicals, and then you have this negative side in this carnivore camp. These are natural chemicals produced by plants that keep them healthy and protect them from insects and the sun. So another defense mechanism that makes sense intuitively to me. And then phytochemicals are said to provide us humans with antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. Other side looking in, you have the proponents of the carnivore diet saying these chemicals are actually harmful. There's a net negative effect when you eat these vegetables, and it's not worth it. And common phytochemicals that most of us have heard of are carotenoids that are good for our eyes. Resveratrol. I remember, often they'll market that with wine and the benefits of drinking wine. I think that's a bit of a reach and a marketing aspect, but resveratrol is found in grapes. You don't have to drink wine. And then flavonoids.
Yes. Again, it's one of those things where, all through my schooling, those are one of the key benefits of your vegetables and fruits, even because they do help with the free radicals, and they are heart protective, brain protective, and just so many benefits. So again, it's interesting that there's this subset of people who claim that these are negative for your health. And yeah, I have some ideas and opinions on it, so we'll get to it.